Good evening to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to the Thursday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Let's get right into it. Let's have a look at the snow depth projections of the models first of all. And there is not a whole lot going on in terms of snowfall over the next week or so here. Looking at the ECMWF, we'll play through the loop. There is a few little areas of snow southwestern England, high ground of Wales, the Pennines, up into Highland Scotland, for example. Play through the loop. You can see here all the way through much of next week. We do have a little bit of a flare up of snow as we move towards the middle portions of next week. So we're still talking nearly a week away, but not a huge amount to speak about really. All in all, looking at the GFS model, then we can see that it too is indicating this little area of low pressure that bumps up against the high that is now starting to drift up towards southern Scandinavia. The core of it actually is now over southern Scandinavia, and what we're seeing is little pulses of cold air running around the bottom of the high. And what we are going to see is a bit of a back and forth in terms of the level of cold that we see. So if we look at the GFS real quick, you can see that if we look at the 850s, and we've got some pulses of cold air coming around the bottom of the high. Let's kind of go back to the broader view here. So this is the current situation. There's the area of high pressure, mild within that high itself. We're seeing temperatures of +8 all the way up into Tromsø, Norway, for example. Very mild conditions, quite yucky, messy conditions. It looks like I've seen one tweet showing quite a lot of melting, and obviously the snow on the ground with the melt creates a very, very quite a yucky kind of situation overall. But you can see here as we move through the course of tomorrow, we've got a little pulse of cold air, then we've got another pulse of cold, then we've got a little bit of a recovery in the temperature through the course of the weekend itself. Then we get another shot of somewhat moderate brand cold running around the base of the high, as can be seen here, and then we get another little pulse of cold air. Now, the question mark is, once that high establishes, and this was what I alluded to in yesterday's video, that once that high becomes anchored in place, we do have a split in the tropospheric polar vortex at 500 millibars, and it's whether this area of high pressure that kind of waxes and wanes in terms of strength, its size, etc. We see the center kind of moving around somewhat through the course of the weekend and through the course of next week as well. But it's whether it can grab some of this uh, split vortex here and drag some of this more potent cold southwards and then westwards underneath the high. So the modelling is definitely back and forth with regards to the level of cold that we see through the course of next week. At the moment, it's a moderate brand cold, but we will continue to watch this pattern going forward. Now, the GFS does see a recovery back to something milder towards, really the weekend of next week. So, looking at the ECMWF, and we will have a look and see what the 850s are indicating here. So again, snow prospects not really great at the moment. See these kind of lobes of cold air, then we get a little bit of a recovery, and then another lobe comes back in underneath the high as it reforms over southern Norway and Sweden. And generally speaking, we're in a colder than average pattern. Nothing major to speak about at the moment, but that does not mean that we can't get something brewing towards the middle portions of this month. And this is something that I've been highlighting for some time. I'm just simply not getting bogged down by individual model runs. People are jumping on board the milder option, then it goes extreme. Remember what the ECMWF in yesterday's run indicated? We had an extreme lobe of cold air coming around that area of high pressure, straight out of the Arctic, around Eastern and Central Europe and towards the UK and Ireland. And I reckon that the modelling could go back to that, but at the moment it's struggling to understand exactly how to distribute and redistribute this cold air as it comes out of the source region, which is the Arctic, obviously, and into the middle altitude pattern here. But in terms of the teleconnections here, we can see that the Arctic oscillation is expected to go. This is the ECMWF extended, by the way, indicating a firmly negative Arctic oscillation. It too has seen a firmly negative North Atlantic oscillation, which is interesting given the fact that when you look at the GFS model, it's struggling to see a negative North Atlantic oscillation. So there is a lot of discrepancy in the models. It's struggling to kind of figure out how this pattern is going to evolve. So we have to kind of sit back, wait and see what happens. Not get overexcited when the extreme runs are coming in. Not get overly disappointed when some of the milder runs come into play as well. But this is how the month has started off. Through the first 6 days of the month, it is warmer than average. Now, over the next 7 days, it is below average according to the ECM extended as we play through the loop into day 7 through 14. Look at how it's continuing to show a below average signal, and then all the way out to day 14 through 21, it's also suggesting that it remains below average. But notice the continent starting to cool down, which is interesting. In terms of the GFS, anyway, it indicates that this is the snow projections. This is total snowfall over the next 216 hours, which takes out Saturday the 15th of February. I think the modelling will start to lock in on a little bit more of a winteriness as we move through the course of the weekend and into next week. In terms of the model output for the coming week, I think it's going to be interesting once over the course of time, over the next 4 or 5 days, with that high becoming more anchored over Scandinavia. I think we're going to understand a little bit more about what we're potentially going to be dealing with in through next week, and then possibilities of recovery, or does the pattern linger more? The MJO is heading towards phases 7 and 8, and then into 8 and then 1. So we're heading back towards colder phases once again, which is rather interesting with the MJO. But we'll wait and see what happens anyway. But be sure to hit that like button, share with your friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and leave a comment as well. It'd be good to hear from you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.